here is your host, the voice of the Tide, Eli Gold.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Dallas, Texas. Welcome to the Hilton Anatole Hotel. A great crowd on hand here, and we are so happy to have you along as Alabama gets set to get back to work and meet the Cincinnati Bearcats on Friday. And make sure you remember it's a Friday game. It's going to be covered at 11:30 in the morning with kickoff at 2:30 in the afternoon from AT&T Stadium. We've got so much to talk about, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my broadcast partners, John Parker Wilson and Rashad Johnson. Gentlemen, good to see you. Did Santa Claus find you okay?
Santa Claus found our house. How about yours?
He definitely found my house as well. My little girls had a great time.
It was a tornado afterwards, but
Really?
he made it to us.
Nobody got any coal, huh?
No, not this
Good.
year.
Glad to hear it. I'll tell you, this build-up to the bowl game, it's always something very special. It doesn't matter if you're playing in the Gator Bowl and bowls of that ilk that many schools are, or for a potential national championship. When you get to play the extra game, for a player, Rashad, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure. It's always a lot of fun, like you said, to get an opportunity to play in these bowl games. And for me, it was always about getting a chance to play a team that you typically don't normally see on your schedule.
Yeah.
The Colorados, the Cincinnatis,
Yep.
Texas Tech during my time. So just a lot of fun getting a chance to travel to a new city, playing a different stadium. AT&T is going to be electric on Friday, so I'm sure a lot of guys are looking forward to that. But that new team outside of your division is always exciting to get an opportunity to play in bowl season.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's fun, right? You get rewarded for what you've done all season long,
Sure.
And you get to come here to a great venue like we are here tonight in a great city like Dallas and play in a big stadium. I know the players missed this last year. But this year, the VIP hospitality they've got. And, I mean, this is a fun time to be with your teammates, to be with your players, get a chance to enjoy it a little bit, and then go play in a massive game here on Friday.
Exactly. We'll talk all about it over the course of the next hour and a half. Folks at home, if you'd like to join us, 877-202-BAMA. 877-202-2262. That's the phone number if you'd like to join us. And for all you folks who are here, we're going to have microphones carried around. Courtney is here, and she'll have a microphone for you. So if anybody has any questions, just start waving at us wildly, and we'll get the microphone over to you. But the 2021 Cotton Bowl College Football Playoff Preview Show is on the air. And listen, if you want to keep up with everything that's going on campus, basketball plays tonight. We'll be checking in with Chris Stewart a little bit later on. The best way to keep up with everything Alabama is with the Roll Tide mobile app presented by Bancorp South. It's available at the App Store and Google Play. Just download the Roll Tide mobile app now. It is absolutely free. And we're thrilled to be able to say thank you to our sponsors for this evening's show. This preview program presented by Reveal Suits, Toyota, and Cook's Pest Control. So stay tuned. More of the 2021 Cotton Bowl College Football Playoff Preview Show live from the Hilton Anatole Hotel here in downtown Dallas. We're all together on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. Gets the snap, looks, waits, wide open across the middle, accelerating. Here comes the defender. They're not going to get there. Jamison Williams, touchdown, Alabama, 67 yards. Jamison Williams, one of his 15 receiving touchdowns this season, as we welcome you back to Dallas, Texas, on the 2021 Cotton Bowl College Football Playoff Preview Show. One of our sponsors tonight is Reveal Suits. They design officially licensed custom suits and blazers for both men and women, representing your college, your favorite team, or whatever your passion is. You can shop online at revealsuits.com for all of your luxury apparel needs. Reveal Suits, where passion meets fashion. We saw Carlton Dixon. He's the CEO here. He's over there in that nice plaid jacket that he's wearing. Good to see you, Carlton. He used to play, many of you remember the name, he used to play hoops for the University of Texas when Tom Penders was the head coach. So great to have Carlton and the company involved with us here today. Guys, let's talk about, I'm sorry? Let's turn these guys' mics back on.
He's got a Bama jacket on tonight, though. So.
He does. There's a lot of crimson in that. He knows exactly where the bread is buttered. Were you guys surprised, now that we can look back over a few weeks, at how well the team bounced back after that game against Auburn, where they had to just pick themselves up by the bootstraps to win it in 4 overtimes, to that magnificent performance against the Georgia Bulldogs? Let's be honest now. Did you expect that?
I can say that, I was a little bit surprised, but not at the same time I wasn't surprised because, Alabama and typically, us at the university, we're prepared for those opportunities, especially on that big stage. The Auburn game wasn't the greatest game. The offensive line obviously struggled a little bit there, made some adjustments, but ultimately won that game. And so I think once we got through that game, guys probably had their eyes on that game while they were playing the Iron Bowl, unfortunately, but was able to get a win. So for me, I think that their focus shifted to where it had always been for those 2 weeks, and they got an opportunity to get what everybody had talked about all season, this great Georgia team. And it was a chance for them to prove themselves. I think I talked about it in pregame. You can't really shake an alpha and not expect them to respond. So I expected them to do exactly what they did. So now just looking forward to see if they can keep that head of steam, knowing that, Cincinnati isn't getting as much buzz as that Georgia team was before.
And JP, how difficult is it to keep that edge? I mean, we've been off, 3 weeks or so, whatever the exact day count is. I'm not sure. From the high of walking out of that Mercedes-Benz Stadium with that great win over Georgia, and then you got, time off, you've got holiday, you've got practice and so on. How tough, though, to maintain that edge?
Well, I think from what we've heard from this team, post-game conference with the players and then all the media availability they've had this week, I mean, to me, this team, they still feel like an underdog. Mm-hmm. I loved one of the things that Will Anderson said after the game. He's like, we're Alabama, and I think people forgot that going into the SEC game, and I think it offended the players a little bit.
Totally.
And they took it personally that, hey, maybe we haven't played the best game every single game we played all year, and sure they lost one game, but they're still Alabama, and they've found a way to win. And I think it really started there in the second half of the Auburn game where Auburn, they're not the team that Georgia was, but it's still a rivalry game. And it's a difficult place to go. Everybody's been down there. Auburn's a tough place to go play.
It is.
They found a way to win, and I think that's really what carried them into the Georgia game. But the layoff here, I think it gives us a chance to be healthy, but also to say, okay, we've made it through the season. We know how good we can be. Let's go out and finish this thing. We got 2 games left, hopefully. We got 1 guaranteed. Let's go finish this thing out.
And Rashad, I was thrilled to hear that Jalen Armour-Davis has recovered nicely. He's worked all week.
Yeah.
This time off was a big boon for him.
Yeah, totally. A guy who had been playing tremendous early on in the season at that cornerback position, to me, I thought was our best corner at the time of his injury. But go back to your question, how hard is it to keep that momentum going? It is kind of tough, but the way that practice kind of changes during this season, it keeps that energy going, because normally during the season, you got, Auburn one week, Georgia the next week, Tennessee the next week. So a lot of your practice time is going against the scout team, is going against the looks of Tennessee. This week, with 3-4 weeks to prepare, you get an opportunity to go ones-on-one. So I didn't get a chance to practice against John Parker much during the season, but now in bowl practice, you're sharpening that iron. It's ones versus ones. It's Jamison Williams versus Jalen Armour-Davis. So you're getting better in that time period, even though, it's a lull of not playing games. You're going one-on-one with the best guys on your team, so you're always sharpening yourself during this time period.
My broadcast partners, John Parker Wilson and Rashad Johnson, presented tonight by CB&S Bank. Bank anywhere at any time with CB&S Bank's digital solutions. Managing your finances has never been so easy. You talk about this matchup and who's getting the respect and so on. I don't care who you play. I don't care if you're in a Group of 5 conference or a Power 5 conference. You get here, you've earned it. And I'll tell you, just ask Notre Dame, right there in the shadow of touchdown Jesus on their campus. And Cincinnati waltzed into South Bend and beat them. Cincinnati nearly beat Georgia in last year's Peach Bowl. This is a dangerous team. The discussion of whether they can play an SEC schedule, a Big Ten schedule, a Big 12, that's for another day. That's another subject. On a one-time outing, anybody can beat anybody.
No doubt. It doesn't matter if they could play the SEC schedule. This is, a one-game schedule for them. We used to always say in the NFL, our goal was just to get in the tournament, because once you get in the tournament, anything can happen. You just want to make the playoffs and get there, because you don't have to be great all season. You just have to be great for a few games. And here Cincinnati has a chance of having a historic season, which they've already had. They're the only team left that hasn't lost a football game all season long. They only lost one last year, and that was to Georgia in the last-second field goal. They lost 24-21 and played Georgia well the whole game. So I think they look to that and say, and a lot of those same guys are back. We played Georgia down to the last second of the game and came up short. Now we got a chance to go beat Bama.
Yeah, totally. And just like you said, any team that's in the playoffs at this point deserves it. And we can say, you can't just win one game here or there. Cincinnati's won the past 13. They say no Group of 5 as an opinion. 13 wins is a fact. I saw that sign. I thought that was pretty good as a fight on their behalf. So definitely deserve to be here. And I think it's a tremendous task, an opportunity for the Alabama group, because Cincinnati does a great job of spreading the ball around with all of their tremendous weapons at wide receiver. So it's going to be a lot of fun watching this explosive offense. And just like we said, Desmond Ridder at quarterback, very smart, does a great job getting the ball out of his hands and doesn't make a lot of mistakes, which is sometimes a kryptonite to us. So can we make him make those mistakes? So it's going to be very fun to watch early on.
We'll follow up on this conversation. Of course, the coach will be joining us here at the top of the hour. This segment of the 2021 Cotton Bowl College Football Playoff Preview Show has been brought to you by Everwood Treatment Company. Everwood, the official treated lumber of Alabama athletics. Everwood, wood treated right. We're back in just a moment to the Hilton Anatole Hotel in Dallas, Texas, as you're listening to the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. She'll be standing there, but if you have a question for the guys or for the coach when he gets here, just make your way to Courtney. She's the young lady there in the white top, and she'll be happy to get you all set up and put you on the air. So thank you very much. is live tonight from Dallas, Texas. It's sponsored in part by Cook's Pest Control and Centricon, the unbeatable combination for termite protection. You know, it's amazing watching the maturation of Bryce Young this year, and both of you guys can comment. But JP, as a quarterback, let me start with you. I asked the coach one day, I said, man, we'll watch him do something during the game, and we'll just be shaking our heads up in the booth at how well he's doing. I said, do you ever have that reaction? He says, darn near every day in practice.
I know, the maturation especially. I mean, from the first game against Miami till this game, he came in at a really high bar already, but he got better and better as the season went on, and Bill O'Brien and Coach Saban relied on him more and more and more to do things, but then pulling stuff out of the hat, like the highlight we just had of his awareness of the field, of what's going on, where everybody's at, and then those plays like that, he'll look down the sidelines. He knows exactly where the line of scrimmage is. He does it every week, and it's been fun to watch, but it's been just the way he's grown and the way he's kept coming to a leader with this team, and then winning the Heisman, and just the way he carries himself. It's been unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been exciting to watch,
Yeah.
Even from the first game, on the sideline watching him against Miami, understanding, pre-snap, how to let the play clock run down, give the fake snap count to see what the defense is in. And then later on in the season, using his legs. He began to use those as a tool, which became a huge weapon for us, like John Parker was saying, whether it was scramble to make a play with his legs and score touchdowns, like extending it in the Georgia game right before the half, or running out of the pocket to make a play with his arms, still keeping his eyes down the field. Just something that you typically don't see in a guy as young as Bryce Young is. But, man, so excited to have him here and have him for another year.
How much of this is God-given talent, and how much can he actually be taught, and can he learn?
Well, obviously he's got a lot of God-given talent. Probably not as much as most. He's only 6 foot, right? Weighs less than 200 pounds. You typically see a quarterback being a lot bigger than he is.
Sure.
And I think he uses his lack of height to really know where everybody's at on the field. And think about him growing up in high school and middle school and high school football, where the guys around you are a lot bigger. His vision is unbelievable. Just of understanding what defenses are trying to do to him, and then how we're trying to attack him, but also talking about how he's not young anymore, but this offense, they put a lot on his plate.
Yeah.
Pre-snap, he does a lot, moving the protections around, changing which way the line is going to slide, making sure he's picked up to one side.
But if he didn't show that he could do it, they wouldn't ask him to do it.
Absolutely. He continues to do it. They continue to put more and more on his plate, and he keeps getting better and better.
Hey, folks, the APS Performance of the Week this week, something a little bit unusual. It's going to go to the Knicks Kids Foundation, which recently honored 50 local teachers at its 10th annual Teacher Excellence Awards Luncheon at the Tuscaloosa River Market. Knicks Kids Foundation is being recognized and has recognized and rewarded these teachers for their dedication inside and outside of the classroom. They all got certificates of commendation and $500 in gift cards to all of those teachers. So our congratulations to all the teachers who were honored as part of the Teacher Excellence Awards Luncheon by the Knicks Kids Foundation. And that is your APS Performance of the Week for all of your residential and commercial foundation, waterproofing, pest control, termite and lawn services. Go to alabamaprofessional.com. We're back with more in a moment. This is the 2021 College Cotton Bowl Preview Show, live from the Hilton Anatole Hotel in Dallas on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. his third rushing touchdown of the year to go with his 43 passing touchdowns against only 4 interceptions. Just a remarkable, remarkable Heisman Trophy winning season. Right now from Dallas, we need to pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
You're clear.
When we come back, Coach Nick Saban joins us. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, call us toll-free, 877-202-BAMA. You're listening to the 2021 Cotton Bowl College Football Playoff Preview Show live from the Hilton Anatole Hotel in Dallas, Texas on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Gold.
Welcome back, everybody. Glad you're with us this evening as the show rolls on and Coach Nick Saban has made his way to the stage. Coach Saban's appearance on the show presented by Reveal Suits. It's What's Inside. Coach, great to see you. How was Christmas for you?
That was great.
I had a couple days off. You know, we gave the players 3 days off for Christmas like we always do. And
right.
It's good. We had good family time. I actually got more presents this year than I usually do, so Miss Terry was good to me.
Somebody asked me, and it was an interesting question, stuff you don't think about. They said, do you think Coach Saban can actually go out to the store and buy Christmas gifts for people, or and I'm being serious, or he said, or does he have to delegate that to say, so I can't see the coach wandering through the aisles at a store. What do you do?
Well, you know, you have a technique for everything. So when I go to shop, I'll go to a department store. I always have a lady that I tip very generously and give her a list of things to go buy. And I hide in the back. She goes and buys them. She gets them wrapped, and that's it.
There you go. Very, very simple.
But what everybody's decided to do at my house now is they buy their own gifts and wrap them and put them under the bed.
And then act
so
surprised.
They know what they are, but I don't really know what they got. So it's kind of backwards.
I hear you. How's the week of practice been here in Dallas?
It's been good. You know, the people at the Cotton Bowl are very accommodating. You know, it's not been like a bowl game for the players at all. I mean, they actually voted when we got here on Sunday to not leave the hotel because of the COVID situation. But, you know, we practiced in AT&T Stadium every day except once, and we practiced at the Dallas Cowboys facility on Sunday when we got here. But it's been good. Everything's been really, really well done.
Coach, how important it is that the players make that decision to stay, hey, we're going to lock down, we're just going to focus on football this week, coming from the players and not having to come from the coaches. It's got to make it easier from y'all, but also from the other players also buying in.
Yeah, well, I think when it comes from the players, just like I always, and when you played, we did the same thing, is the players always decide what the curfews are. So if the players decide what the curfews are, then it's not my idea as to what time they come in or have to be in. It's theirs. So it's something that they take ownership of and make sure it works, you know, that way. So, and it was the same thing with this. You know, obviously, you don't want to be in a situation in this time of the year to have a bunch of guys, you know, end up getting sick and not be able to perform and affect your ability to be able to accomplish what you work for all year.
Hey, Rashad, my old broadcast partner, Kenny Stabler. Now, he was the curfew coach for his team when he played, but this is a whole lot different. I mean, this is serious stuff. Trying to play for a championship, you don't need anybody in the doghouse.
Totally. It's definitely a serious opportunity, like you said. I mean, you only get this once in a lifetime as a college player, unless you come to Alabama and you get it more than once if you're a college player. But seriously, I mean, guys are going to get this opportunity, and you have to take advantage of it. And I think Coach Saban said it best, that you're only remembered by how you finish the season. So this team won't be remembered by the Georgia game, but how they finished this 2021 season. And they got a great opportunity in front of them.
Sure.
Yeah, well, that's well said, because the legacy of this team, or any team, is really how you finish, especially when you get to playoffs. And I think it's important to the players. And, you know, I didn't make the players do it, but I kind of let them know that, you know, you're not going to remember what you did on Tuesday night in Dallas.
Right.
3 months from now, 3 weeks from now, or 3 years from now.
That's good.
But you're going to remember the rest of your life what happens in the game. All right, so you've got to kind of decide, you know, what are we here for? What's most important to you? And, you know, it's all about how you finish. And I think it's a little bit, you know, everybody talks about all the things that you should be motivated about. But sometimes it's what you're willing to ignore. Like we have a lot of things out there, you know, everybody's talked about rat poison, good and bad. But those are the kind of things that you really should ignore. You know, how you played in the last game, how you performed all season long, what the media says, who's going to win the game, what conference a team plays in. You know, none of those things really matter. Those are the things that you should choose to ignore. You know, when a surgeon goes in and wants to operate on somebody, he doesn't have all kind of clutter in the room. He has the tools that he needs to be able to perform what he needs to perform. And that's exactly what, you know, we want our players to be able to do, but you got to focus on the right stuff, and you can't have a lot of mental clutter thinking about all the wrong things and letting that influence and impact, you know, how you prepare, how you get ready to play, and how you can sustain your performance in the game, you know, once it starts. So, you know, I think those things are really, really important. The preparation has been good, but we got to have the right mindset when we get in the game.
You know what was nice to see this week, and this gentleman is sitting right here very quietly, but Joe Pendry has been part of this organization and stepped up when necessary this week to help out. And
Yeah,
Joe, I just wanted to acknowledge one of the best coaches around, and you're lucky to have him on the staff.
And the players loved it. The
Really?
players loved seeing him come back, you know, and does a really good job with the players. And then we had 2 coaches that missed several practices, and Joe kind of filled in for him and did an outstanding job. And, you know, it's good to have friends that are loyal enough to give up their holiday and drive from West Virginia to Tuscaloosa to fly out here and do all this with us. So we certainly appreciate he and Sandy so much.
Exactly. Hey, let's go to the phones, and some things never change in this world. Tonight's first call is being brought to you by Alabama 811. Always contact 811 before you dig to know what's below. Call 811 or visit al811.com. And, of course, our first caller, Pee Wee from Grand Bay, Alabama. Hello, Pee Wee. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Eli.
How
Hey,
are
Coach,
you?
how you doing, sir?
You have a good holiday, man?
Yes, sir, I did. I'm actually up here in Huntsville with my son and daughter-in-law for this week, and I will be home in time to watch the game on Friday.
Well, good. I don't know what would do if you didn't report on the offensive line.
Well, that's what I was going to talk about, and then I also have a second question. You know, the offensive line in the SEC championship game played arguably their best game that they have played all season. My question was, how have they played off of that in their preparation for this game? And is any more confidence? Because they looked about as confident as I've seen them all year. And then my second question is if you would you comment on the loss of, not to just to NFL, but to football as a whole, of Coach Madden yesterday?
Well, first of all, Coach Madden was probably as well-known a person in our profession based on, you know, his success as a player, as a coach, winning a Super Bowl, getting in the playoffs like 8 out of 10 years or whatever, which is a significant accomplishment in the NFL because it's so hard to maintain any kind of consistency because of the parity in the league. And then, you know, what he did to affect so many things when he decided that he didn't want to coach anymore. You know, he created a great game that a lot of people enjoy playing, and he was a great commentator and gave great insight in so many ways to fans and people. And I think because of his insight, he also made some changes and helped make some changes that, you know, actually helped our game. So there's only a few great ones like him, but he's one of the all-time great ones.
Thank you, Pee Wee.
The other thing, Pee Wee, you asked too many questions at once.
The confidence of the offensive
so
line.
I think anytime you play well against a really good team, like Georgia is a really good team, they got a really good front seven, and I think the guys did an outstanding job. We knew it was going to be important in that game that we're able to block their pressures so that, you know, Bryce would have a chance to operate, which was a problem at Auburn. And, you know, they really stepped up to the challenge and did a good job. I do think it helps their confidence. But I also think that it's going to be important the way this team plays in this game, that they do a really good job up front because they're going to do the same types of things, you know, especially in passing situations. They'll drop 8 guys a lot, but they're going to try to pressure the quarterback and affect the quarterback and do it in, you know, a lot of different ways in the 3-3 stack, which is, you know, challenging. But they've done a really good job, and you know, it all come down to execution when the game starts.
And by the way, I bring greetings from our mutual friend Vern Lundquist. I spoke with him today. He was the guy who has worked the 3rd most games with John Madden. Pat Summerall had worked 410 games with Madden. Al Michaels had worked about 150. And then Vern, who was next in line. And we were talking today, and he said to please say hello to you and wish you a Happy New Year.
Yeah, Vern's a good one. He was with the SEC for a long time, and we miss him. He's one of the, you know, there's a lot of these old guys that have been around for a long time that have great professionalism in terms of what they do. And that's one of the things I always really appreciated about Vern.
Yeah. Rashad, let's talk a moment about bowl games and how difficult or easy they were to prepare for you as a player after having, we touched on it in the first half hour, but let's expand a bit, having had 3 weeks off, if you will, before the ball game comes about.
Yeah, in the bowl game, it's a time to where you get back to the basics. At least for us when we were at Alabama and Coach Saban was there, and I'm sure it was the same during this time period. You get an opportunity to where it's a lot of ones versus ones. We get a chance to get back to those fundamental things, tackling, getting back to shedding blocks, a lot of more things early on that you don't get a chance to do week in and week out because you're preparing for Tennessee or you're preparing for Florida. Now it's an opportunity to get back to those fundamental things that got us here. So build on that foundation, and then as the week comes closer to playing Cincinnati at this point, you get back into your regular routine. So for me, it was an opportunity to go out and sharpen up on some things that I may have faded on during the season. Maybe I wasn't a great tackler later in the season as I was early on. So now this is a chance for me to go out and focus on those fundamentals, doing individual drills and doing team periods. So whatever those things were that we were struggling with coming out of that Georgia game, it was an opportunity for us to get back against good competition, which is our ones versus ones, and battle it out. So that's what I enjoyed the most about that bowl season. You got back to that fundamental, little bit of that, training camp mode before you get back into, playing this game and traveling out.
And JP, how about preparing for a team that you don't often see? We see Tennessee every year. We see this team every year. Then all of a sudden in comes a Texas Tech or whomever it might be. Tougher on a QB to prepare for a team you're not familiar with at all?
I think it'd probably be easier because now you've got 3 weeks to go back and basically go watch the entire season. You can watch every play that this team has had, where during a normal week you might only go back 4 or 5 weeks. So you can really dive deep in finding out what their DNA is, what they've been like all season long, and then trying to predict, okay, here's some things they might change up, because we know we're going to see new stuff from them, just like they're going to see new things from our offense and defense. So you're trying to anticipate what that defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator is going to do. But I think it's the bowl preparation is all about mindset. I remember when Coach Saban's first year in 2007, everybody talks about that 2008, and we finally turned it around. But I think it started in the bowl practice the year before, where we were 6-6 and we lost a lot of close games. I think we did get back to fundamentals, but really changed our mindset, and we're able to just continue that into 2008.
These guys are very gracious, because when they were playing and we worked on those fundamentals like it was camp, like for 3 or 4 days before we actually started bowl practice, they complained like crazy. So they're very gracious.
It's amazing how that changes. Coach, right in front of us through the spotlight glare, we've got a gentleman at the microphone. Good evening, sir.
Good afternoon. Good evening. First of all, Coach, God bless you and roll tide.
Thank you.
You're obviously the greatest coach in sports history, in any sport, the master motivator and recruiter. Before you arrived, we Alabama Crimson Tide fans were blessed to have legendary coach Bear Bryant walk the sidelines at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Do you have any theories as to why both of you ended up in Tuscaloosa, Alabama?
I can't speak for Coach Bryant, but he was an outstanding coach and probably the greatest coach of all time, in my opinion, because he won so many different ways in a different era. He won running the wishbone. He ran throwing the ball with good quarterbacks. And I think he did it with the basic fundamental things that we've tried to, sort of steal from him in terms of, discipline and people playing with great intangibles, effort, toughness, things like that really don't take ability. That's what he was a master at, getting players to do. And I think it's a little more challenging, now. I think the one thing that you mentioned was recruiting. And I think that good recruiting makes for good coaching, because it's really hard to coach well when you don't have really good players who will play together, players who have the ability to do the things that you want to do so that you can feature their talents. And I think we've had a lot of really good coaches that have done a great job of recruiting. We have a really good university, support from our administration, Dr. Bell. The university community does a great job of helping us get some of the best players. We have a great history of success in graduating the players and creating value for the players. So that's one of the reasons that we've been able to continue to have success. because we have a great support group. I'm sure Coach Bryant had a great support group when he was here, and that enabled him to have the success that he had as well. So I know why I ended up in Tuscaloosa. You know, I was a college coach, had some success as a college coach, always thought I wanted to be an NFL coach, went to the NFL. When I was in the NFL prior to, we didn't have free agency, so you had the same players on your team for a long time. So I didn't really have experience with salary cap, free agency, and all that. So that changed the game dramatically in the NFL. So when I went there, it wasn't quite as much fun as it was the first couple times I was in the league. So I was actually anxious to get back to college and thought it was a blessing that we would have an opportunity to come to a place like Alabama. And it has been special to Terry and I and our family for 15 years now.
And it's turned out to be a blessing for all of us. We're coming right back. We've got a lot more together. If you'd like to join the conversation, toll-free number 877-202-BAMA. We're back with more in just a moment. You're listening to the 2021 Cotton Bowl College Football Playoff Preview Show. We're live from the Hilton Anatole Hotel in Dallas on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. It's now 30-17. Quite the combination right there as we welcome you back to the 2021 Cotton Bowl College Football Playoff Preview Show with Coach Nick Saban. It's presented in part by Reveal Suits. It's what's inside Reveal Suits, where passion meets fashion. Shop online at revealsuits.com. The coach is with us, so too my broadcast partners, John Parker Wilson and Rashad Johnson. Coach, you're obviously sitting right next to an outstanding defensive back, not only collegiately, but Rashad also having a great NFL career. We're not going to compare things, but when you think of Rashad, I automatically think of DBs. And when you think of DBs, you think of Bryant and Gardner, the two outstanding cornerbacks for the University of Cincinnati. As good as advertised, you've seen all the film. Tell me about it.
They have very good both those guys are very good players. They also have some very good edge rushers. They do a really good job with their defensive scheme. They play a lot of man-to-man. They try to mix it up, and the two corners do a really, really good job of playing man-to-man. They're long, bigger guys that, do a good job of jamming people, and it's going to be a challenge for us to get away from some of those guys and, to formation them so that we have the best opportunity to get our best players on the best matchups that we possibly can.
But Rashad, when you were getting ready to see a Bryce Young to Jamison Williams type of combination, reputation for the DB is fine, but bottom line is you got to slow down that great pass catch combo.
Definitely, and those two have a history record this year of what they're putting together. And I think what Coach said in terms of how they defensively, have great edge rushers. You want to disrupt the quarterback if you can, and then cornerbacks that can play man-to-man, that can get in their face. But like he said, with us offensively, finding formations that we can, move guys around and put them in the right positions to get the matchups that we're looking for is the way that you're going to be able to move the ball offensively. But defensively, if you got guys up front that's rushing the passer, that's causing disruption, it makes your life easy as a defensive back. And obviously Cincinnati has done that. So it makes, Kobe Bryant and Ahmad Gardner's year even better when they got guys up front playing that well.
And by the way, his name is Kobe Bryant, and he's changing his jersey number this week to number 8 in honor of the late NBA star. So don't think we misspoke on the name. We are going to the phones right now. Our next caller is Adam. He's with us from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Hi, Adam. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Eli. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Rashad, John Parker, how are you guys doing tonight?
Doing well. Hope you're doing well.
How you doing, Adam?
Coach Saban, just want to wish all you guys a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
All the contributions that y'all have made. You bet, to the University of Alabama. It's been a treat to watch you over the years. And, Coach, I want to ask a non-football related question. Watching your press conferences over the years, you speak to a lot of things related to growing these young men, teaching them life skills to be successful even after they've left the university. For you personally, what are those areas that you still struggle to master, both as it pertains to being a coach professionally, but also away from the field, away from the game? What are those areas of life that you still look to improve yourself upon on a yearly basis, especially as we move into the new year and we all look to kind of perfect, or at least attempt to? No one will never get there. What are those areas that you still strive to master in your own life?
Well, I think leadership is something that I think is really, really important when you're involved with, let's say, 125 guys on your team, coaches in your organization, young people who are trying to become coaches, and our interns and graduate assistants. So, and that all starts with, setting a good example, being somebody that somebody can emulate, caring enough about somebody else to serve them for their benefit. It's kind of manipulation when you do it for your benefit, but you want to serve them for their benefit and be a blessing to how they develop. And it's not the same for all players. So the most challenging thing for me, is, to find, what really makes someone respond in a way that's going to be beneficial to them. Because most of the things that we're trying to do is to create value in a young person so that they can be more successful in life. But sometimes they don't realize, what those things are. I try to make all the players on our team, tell me what their goals are. I meet with each player individually twice a year, and I'd say, what are your goals? What are your aspirations? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do? And they don't really know it when they tell me, but then I can always use those things and ask them, how is this behavior helping you accomplish any of those goals that you told me you wanted to accomplish? So everybody's got to learn how to edit their behavior in a way that's going to help them have a chance to accomplish the goals that they have. And that's a choice that everybody, needs to make. Sometimes it's difficult for guys to make those choices, and you got to do things that you're not comfortable doing. But I think in the long run, that is what helps you create the habits that you need to create so that you can be successful. So I think the most challenging thing for me, because I always feel like when there is a guy that I can't seem to affect, in a way that's going to benefit him and his future, I feel like I'm failing that player, I'm failing that person. And that's the most challenging thing I think we have to deal with.
Okay, thank you very much. A great question from Adam in Chattanooga. Let's take a questioner right here at the hotel. Coach, straight in front of us. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Hey, Coach. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Rashad, thank you for your time earlier. I got to speak with you. Eli, you took a picture of my wife. Thank you. But
my pleasure.
Anytime.
I got to say, Coach, I love your vocabulary. It's all about execution and domination and physicality. But to be physical at the line of scrimmage, you have to be big. But I was watching the Minnesota game last night, and they commented that they have, I believe, the biggest offensive line in college football, bigger than the Minnesota Vikings, yet they're not here at the Cotton Bowl. My point being is mindset really is where it's at. You know, if I'm down 40-0, how do you get Rashad and JP and all these guys? Like, what is their mindset tonight? How do you coach them tonight after practice, after film? What are you telling them or encouraging them to do with their mind before they go to bed or before they get on the field?
JP, let's see if the answers match here. Give us a quick one-liner about what the coach did to do the mindset here.
Well, I think it's the same throughout the entire year, right? It doesn't matter if it's February 15th or if it's December 29th or whatever the day is. Like, you need to be doing the things that are going to be beneficial to yourself and the team, regardless of what day it is, and it shouldn't change all year long.
Totally, I agree. Own your box, do your job. Those are the things that are spoken on tonight. And the game, is won tonight. Visualize what you're gonna do on the field, on Saturday. Those are the things that are being talked upon. I would think, today heading into a game as big as we're playing on Friday night.
Well, I think what we try to emphasize with the players, you've heard me say before, there's no scoreboard. So it shouldn't really affect how you play if you're ahead 40-0 or behind 40-0, because the goal and the objective is to get every player to reach their full potential, as a person, as a student, and as a player. So, and that's what's going to benefit them the most, in their future. So the circumstances surrounding the situation shouldn't impact someone who is trying to be the best that they can be. I tell players all the time, when I was in the NFL, they'd make me a cut-up of a player, and I evaluated them as to where we were going to put them on the draft board. I didn't know who they were playing. I didn't know what the score of the game was. I didn't know any of those things. All I did is I watched how you played. So why would it have any impact if you're playing a good player, a not-so-good player, a good team, a not-so-good team? You're ahead in the game by 14. You're behind in the game by 14. So you're trying to create value for yourself, and you're trying to help your team be successful. Those are the two things that you want to do. So it's going to benefit you the most to be the best player that you can be every play in the game, one play at a time, like it has a history and a life of its own, and you do it over and over and over and over. And if you're going to dominate someone, you don't do it on the first play. You don't do it on the fifth play. You don't do it on the 20th play. Sometimes it's the 50th play in the game before the guy says, "Uncle, I quit. All right, this guy's got me." All right, so that's how you have to, the mindset that you have to have when you play in a game. You want to be relentless, as a competitor, and you want to play hard all the time. And those things are what's going to create value for you in your future, and doing the right things on the field and off the field, probably more so than ever. Last year before the draft, we had, 6 guys drafted in the first round, 2 in the second round. I probably got 30 phone calls 3 days leading up to the draft. I never got asked one question what kind of player a guy was. Not one. What kind of leader is he? Is he going to be good in our organization? Is he a good teammate? Is he somebody you really want on your team? Those are the questions I got. Nothing about how they played. All right, so more than ever before, I think what you do off the field as well as what you do on the field is really, really important. And not to recognize that and try to provide leadership to help players create that value is a real mistake, and really selling them short of what they can accomplish and what they can do.
And that's one of the reasons the man is as successful as he is. We're coming right back. More with Coach Saban, more with Rashad Johnson and John Parker Wilson. This segment of tonight's show sponsored by New Coke Zero Sugar. New look, improved taste, New Coke Zero Sugar. We're coming right back to the Cotton Bowl Preview Show from the Anatole Hotel in Dallas, Texas, on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. College Football Playoff Preview Show. It's presented by Reveal Suits, by Toyota, and by Cook's Pest Control. We'll be getting back to Coach Saban here in just a moment or so, but at this very moment at Coleman Coliseum in Tuscaloosa, we're about 25 minutes away from tip-off of Alabama and the Tennessee Volunteers. Two nationally ranked teams going at it on the hardwood tonight. And, of course, as soon as we wrap up our broadcast here, the network will shift right to Tuscaloosa for basketball. Chris Stewart is courtside getting himself ready to go. Chris, what's happening? Good evening to you and Happy New Year.
Good evening, partner. Always good to talk to you, and glad you guys are all there safe in Dallas, ready to go, and I look forward to joining you tomorrow, but glad to be here in Tuscaloosa tonight, where we're in the safest place you can be in, with tornado watches in the area for the county and all, but Coleman Coliseum, a great spot to be from a safety standpoint, but also in terms of college basketball. This matchup between the 14th ranked Tide and the 14th ranked Vols and the 19th ranked Crimson Tide. I think those were roughly flipped just a few days ago, and looking forward to the matchup. Tennessee a little bit being without full strength for this ball game tonight. Kennedy Chandler, their top scorer. John Fulkerson, one of the top big men in the entire league, out after testing positive for COVID-19. That was announced earlier today. So two standouts, not only for Tennessee, but in the Southeastern Conference, unavailable for tonight's game, that certainly won't hurt the cause for Alabama in any regard.
Well, Chris, we thank you for the update. Have yourself a wonderful broadcast. We'll all be listening in at 8 o'clock this evening. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to do it, buddy. Take care.
All right, man. Take care. Chris Stewart joining us from Tuscaloosa. And, again, we'll have the radio broadcast here as soon as we wrap up, and the TV coverage beginning at 8 o'clock tonight on ESPN2. Tell you, Coach Oates has had his team playing pretty well. Do you learn stuff, whether it's from Coach Oates or whomever? Are you deep into your career that you never stop looking, though, and learning stuff from other coaches and how they handle things and so on?
No question. I mean, I always enjoy, you never arrived in this business, so you're always looking for a better way. I think that's something that's really, really important for all coaches, all teachers, and people out there who have to, try to help young people. But I constantly, like reading books.
Sure.
And like I love talking to Coach K. I get on his radio show and I ask him more questions than he asks me. But I think those things are really important to do the very thing that I talked about before, which was most challenging, is how do you impact and affect your players on your team so that they have a better chance to be successful, which is the biggest challenge. And it's not really about the X's and O's, and although you do learn things from that standpoint too, I love basketball. If I was a little taller, I'd have probably liked to have been a basketball player, not a football player. But, it's amazing how the game has changed and the style that we play, shooting threes and shooting layups and, the analytics of a three-point shot being more valuable than trying to get a really good 15-foot shot. So it's kind of interesting to see how those things evolve. And, football's evolved the same way.
Sure.
No huddle, spread. RPOs, all these things didn't exist, 10, 12 years ago. So you got to adapt with them, and that's always a challenge in terms of how do you do that.
Now, Rashawn, did you play other sports in Sulligent growing up?
I did. I actually played basketball growing up. My first scholarship was to a small Division II school in basketball. So
really?
Could hoop a little bit, I guess you could say. Not too well, but a little bit.
How about you, JP?
I played baseball.
Yeah, your brother's a great baseball player.
Both. We're a baseball
Yeah.
family. I was the black sheep that went and played football because I had to. When they started throwing the sliders and the curveballs, it was done for me. I was
that got me too.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's not fun.
I hear you. We've got another visitor here at the hotel with a question straight back there, Coach. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm a $1 Million Band mom of a fourth-year student. At MDB, got on buses at midnight last night at Moody and took 10 hours to get here, dressed out at practice 1.5 hours after arrival in Dallas for a 2-hour practice in Flower Mound. But they do it because they feel from you and from Ms. Terry how much you appreciate and value their contribution to the program. So I'm curious to know and hear from you your general feeling how the music and energy the MDB students bring to our team affect our success.
You know, there's all kinds of things that are traditions. And one of the great traditions, I think, of our school and college sports in general, but especially at the University of Alabama, is I think the band is a symbol of a lot of traditions, the fight song, and a lot of things that they do. And believe me, I really do appreciate more than you know. And I go talk to them every year about how important what they do is. And I know they make a lot of sacrifices, and I know it's a lot of hard work for them, but there's an expectation, you know, when they march on the field, what people expect to see. There's a uniform, just like I won't change our uniforms, because when Alabama runs out of the tunnel, everybody has an expectation of what they're going to see. And that's,
exactly.
That's important. It's a part of tradition. It's a part of things that people cherish and remember. And I think the band is a really, really big part of that. And I think the energy and enthusiasm that they create is something the fans enjoy, and I know the players appreciate very much as well.
Yeah. No question. The $1 Million Band, some of the hardest working folks on campus, the largest student organization on campus, better than 400. You know, there's no accordion player though, Coach. That was not going to fit into your calling.
And I knew that when I was 9 years old. That's why I started playing sports, so I could get out of practice and according.
I hear you. Let's talk about Desmond Ridder, the outstanding quarterback for Cincinnati. Folks know his name like the back of their hand. What's he like? You've seen all of his games on tape. Tell us a bit more about what we'll be facing on Friday afternoon.
Well, he's a really good athlete. He's a good passer. He's a very smart player. He's got a lot of experience, so he really does a good job of redirecting protections, throwing the ball the right place, really good understanding of their offense and how to execute it. He also he's fast. I mean, he's tall, but very fast. And they do a lot of quarterback runs that are challenging for the defense, that are very complementary to other things that they do that makes it difficult. Like they run a lot of quarterback draws, so you have to defend the quarterback draw all the time, even on third down when you think you're just going to defend the pass. And they run a lot of zone option street plays where he keeps the ball, and very challenging to the perimeter players, and everybody's got to fit it exactly right or they make explosive plays on you.
But a guy, Rashad, when you sit down and watch tape, I mean, can you get into a guy's mind and figure out what's going to happen by extensive film study?
Definitely. Watching film is the greatest preparation that you have. Learning tendencies, understanding formations. Teams tip themselves off of those things. So definitely as a defensive back, linebacker, those guys are watching film and reading their keys. You're going to get the tips and understand what plays to expect on, after a 1st and 10, say, they throw an incomplete pass. They may come back and have a tendency of running the ball on 2nd and long. So just playing those tendencies and understanding as a player, you're not playing every down, but you're playing what you've seen on film, and understanding from the formations and the down and distance and where they are on the field. It all limits the playbook for a team once you've diagnosed and studied them well enough, and knowing our guys that they've studied them well enough.
And John Parker, you got to have the physical tools clearly, but so much is mental. I mean, you can't just be some dunce and step in and play successful winning football.
Absolutely. I mean, the mental part of especially playing quarterback, just like every other position on football, is the most important thing. And obviously, this guy's got it. Desmond Ridder, 44-5 as a starter. So this guy's won 44 games in his college career. That's a lot of victories. I don't care who you're playing. I don't care if you're playing checkers. If you're 44-5, you're doing a lot of things right. You're making a lot of people around you better. Just like they spread the ball out a lot to a lot of different receivers, multiple tight ends. Even running backs out of the backfield. So he's able, like we've seen Bryce Young this year, of finding the right guy to go with the ball. Desmond Ridder does a good job of understanding what we're trying to do to him on defense, and then adjusting, whatever route or combination they're doing to attack our defense.
Coach Fickle's done well there, Coach. He really has.
Yeah, absolutely. And this quarterback is a very good player. But just to comment on something that Rashad talked about is, for our defensive players, and Rashad was one of the best we've ever had at doing this. We have about 20 what we call signal callers assignments that we give a player on Monday when we do the scouting report. Whether it's bird and rabbits, like who gives away run pass in the offensive line, or whatever. What's the best 3rd and 3 to 6 routes? I mean, there's like 20 different things that we have players do, and I think his was always motions.
Motions, shifts and motions.
Okay, so shifts and motions. That was his deal, and he used to come and see me. I make a reel for him. Where this is the motion. This is what they do when they go in motion. This is what they do when they shift to certain things. They run the same plays over and over and over. They call the same formation the same play. With this motion, this is what you can expect. And he used to give the best reports of anybody that we ever had. And it was always the motion adjustments. And I can't find anybody to do that now. There's so many shifts in motion.
Yeah, in every play.
It's amazing, though, the stuff that you guys have to go through that we have no idea. I mean, folks think we all know football, we enjoy it, we love it, but man, the work that goes on preparing to be a successful team, it's unconscionable to us normal folks.
It's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of time spent. There's no doubt about it, and you gotta love doing it. I think that's what definitely Rashad and myself and all these guys that we have right now on this team. Listening to the press conferences and hearing what they're saying to the media. You could say, well, they're just talking to the media and they're trying to play it clean, but our guys, they say a lot, and I think what I've seen, especially throughout this season, is they mean it. You see guys like Will Anderson getting on the mic, and Phil Mathis, and obviously Bryce. They mean what they say, and I think that means a lot. But Coach Saban, I got a question for you. Of all the shifts and motions, how much can you prepare for this game like a normal game? Say we're playing Tennessee Week 10. Is this more like a normal season game, or like we're playing Miami where you don't have a lot of tape? How much do you think are we going to, does a typical team change from SEC championship to now playing in the bowl game?
Well, I don't think there's any question about the fact that we're going to see different things in the game than what we prepare for, probably on both sides of the ball and probably even on special teams. But that's not unusual for our team. Just about every week that we play, people do some different things to try to take advantage of whatever they see that you did or didn't do, and how they can take advantage of it. So you always have to be able to adapt. I think that's the number one thing that we talk to our players about when it's in the game. And you see how our players go on the sideline, sit on the bench, the coaches are talking to them the whole time and showing them mostly different things or things that we misfit or didn't block correctly or whatever it is, so that we can get it corrected, so we can play the next play and keep making those adjustments and those adaptations as we go. But you make the comment that players work hard and there's a lot that goes into it. I think if you want to really be good at anything, and I'm sure there's a lot of people here tonight that are really good at what they do. You work hard. You make a decision, you make a commitment, and of what you want to accomplish and what you want to do, then you say to yourself, I will do the things that I need to do to be able to do that. And so I think that's what football players do too. I think that's what football teams try to do together as a group, and that's what makes this a great team game, because there's more participants that have to be successful and accountable to each other to be able to have success on whether it's offense, defense, or special teams.
Well said. We're coming right back. We got lots more to go with the coach, so don't you go away. We're live tonight in Dallas, Texas, here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield. College Football Playoff Preview Show presented by Reveal Suits, Toyota, and Cook's Pest Control. A big thank you as well to a couple of our longtime sponsors, Golden Flake and Coca-Cola, always involved in everything we do here on the network, and we appreciate them more than you can imagine. And Coach, now it is time for your final word as we lead up to Friday night's game, or Friday afternoon's game. Your final word each week presented by Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody who supports, our team. We've had great support all year long. We've had great atmosphere and environment in Bryant-Denny Stadium. I know lots of fans travel lots of places. SEC championship game, we had a lot of great energy and enthusiasm. So I want to thank everyone for that, and I hope you have a very happy holiday. But I think for this game, all right, the most important thing is the main thing has to be the main thing. You got to keep the main thing the main thing. I mean, you got to be able to focus on what you need to do from an energy, effort, discipline to execute, accountability standpoint, and not be affected by external factors and clutter or anything else. And I would say that everyone in the organization, including the fans, all right, should do the same thing. Don't make assumptions. All right, don't think that things are going to be easy, because it will be a very difficult task, all right, in this game, all right, to impose your will on whoever you compete against. I mean, there are underdogs who upset people all the time. All right, so we have to play to our potential. We have to play with our energy, effort, discipline to execute, accountability, enthusiasm, and as well as the fans and everybody who supports the team. And it's no different than a fighter. A fighter prepares for a fight. We've prepared for this fight. And now we have, not even 48 hours until the fight starts. But the fighter also has to prepare for taking a punch. A fighter also has to prepare for having a bad round and be able to go back and fight the next round. And these kinds of abilities to overcome adversity, as a competitor in a game or in any profession, is really what helps you be successful. And that's what our team needs to do for 60 minutes in this game. And that your energy and enthusiasm will certainly help them be able to do that.
Coach, as always, sir, thanks so much for your time. Great to have you on the show, and have a wonderful, wonderful Friday. And, of course, the coach sharing so many of the keys to victory that are driven by local Toyota dealers. Visit your local Toyota dealer or Toyota.com now and take advantage of the amazing deals on our full line of vehicles. No matter your destination, Toyota goes with you. Toyota, let's go places. We're coming right back to wrap it up, so don't you go anywhere. We are live in Dallas, Texas, here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.